Hello, I'm Ollie and this is Criminolly, where I talk about crime, pulp, horror, that kind of thing. Today, none of the above. Today I'm doing a tag video. I'm going to do the 1001 books tag. So this was created by Ms. Reads a Lot, whose channel is excellent, so do check that out, and I will put a link to her original video in the description for this one. I was tagged by David Wiley ages ago, and I'm really sorry, David, I didn't notice at the time that he tagged me. I think I must have missed that video somehow. But then when Pax Panic did the tag more recently, she said she'd been tagged by David. So I went back to watch David's video and saw that he had indeed tagged me as well. So yes, so here I am, much belatedly. Does that make sense? I don't know. Right, so anyway, here is the tag. Let's go through it. So it's an original tag, as I say, created by Ms. Reads a Lot. First question is, 1001 lists, do you follow any book lists? No, I don't really know what a book list is. I think when I've seen other people doing this tag, that it's like, you know, the New York Times is best books to read in 2022 or whatever. So do I follow anything like that? No, not at all. I'm probably vaguely aware of things like that, but I definitely don't follow them. I'm much more into just getting recommendations from people I know and trust, rather than relying on lists. Next one, 1001 books. Approximately how many physical books do you currently own? So I kind of had to think about this a bit recently because I'm doing this library tour, thanks to Steve Donahue, which is doing my back in getting boxes up and down from the attic. I've got 20 plus boxes of books in the attic. Plus I've got the books on the shelves behind me, and these shelves are double stacked. So I think I've got in the region of 1,000 physical books. Just doing some basic maths. I'm certainly not going to count them all, but yeah, I think I'm around 1,000. As for Kindle books, let's have a look. I should have prepared better for this video, shouldn't I? Right, so it's definitely over 1,000 Kindle books. If I go into how do I see how many books I've got? Here we go. So I have got 2,053 books on my Kindle, and 541 docs. So docs could be either things I've got from like Project Gutenberg. So basically it's docs, if you don't know, on a Kindle are files that you haven't got from Amazon. So those will be probably either from Project Gutenberg or ARCs I've got from NetGalley or from other sources, you know, from publishers and things like that. So that's what, just over 2,500. So 2,500 ebooks and 1,000 or so physical books. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why I'm on a book buying pad. Right, next question. 1,001 books read. Approximately how many books have you read in your lifetime? Do you keep track? Right, I'm just going to quickly refer to Goodreads. Again, I should have prepared better for this. So, do I keep track? Yes, I do. So for the past 10 years or so, I think, I've used Goodreads. Let's have a think. Yeah, certainly the last 9 years, I've used Goodreads. So I definitely started using Goodreads when I was about 40. Which is when I first self-published a book, and that's kind of how I got into it. So according to Goodreads, I have, and I do the Goodreads challenge every year, so you know I know how many books I read each year. In terms of what's shelved on my Goodreads, I have 1,837 books shelved as read. So I've definitely read that many. But what that doesn't, so when I joined, or shortly after I joined Goodreads, as well as logging books as I read them, I also went through and shelved a load of stuff that I could remember reading in the past. So my memory is definitely not perfect. You know, I'm in my late 40s, and my memory is far from perfect, trust me. So I think you could probably add at least another 500 to that. In terms of books I've read but forgotten about. And when I think about it, you know, I currently read 100 to 150 books a year, and have done for the last, you know, few years. And I'm 49, and I've been, you know, avidly reading since I was 9. So I've been avidly reading for 40 years, and I read about I currently read about 100 books a year. Now, in the past, I probably didn't read 100 books a year. Certainly, you know, when I was in my 20s, I definitely wasn't reading 100 plus books a year. But I was probably reading at least 50 books a year. So I think that averages out to about 2,500. So 2,500 or so read, 1,000 physical books in the attic, and 2,500 books on my Kindle. So and of the ones on my Kindle, nearly 2,000 of them are unread. So I've probably got enough to keep me going for the rest of my life without buying anything else. Right, next question. 1001 Arabian Nights. Have you read any stories from the Arabian Nights? No, I haven't. And there's a follow-up question. Do you have a favourite? No. If you haven't read it, do you want to? Yeah, I'd like to read the Arabian Nights books, or Arabian Nights stories rather. Obviously, they're very famous. I think somewhere I've got a paperback edition of some of them, like a kind of vintage Penguin paperback. So maybe that will show up in one of my book tours. But yeah, not currently planning to read them. But yeah, I'd like to get to them probably at some point. Next question, 1001 Flavours. Do you have a favourite food or flavour? I think I answered this question in my favourite things tag, and I can't remember what I answered. So I'm going to say, what do I like? I like all sorts of food. I like, you know, most sorts of food. I'm definitely not a fussy eater. So yeah, I don't know that I really have a favourite flavour. On 1001 pages, have you read a book that is over 1001 pages? Is there one that you recommend, and is it worth the time? What is the longest book you have read? So yeah, I've definitely read multiple books that are over 1001 pages. Trying to think of some. So The Stand, Battlefield Earth, which turned up in a library tour video I just filmed. That's over 1,000 pages. It is over 1,000 pages. Many more. I can't think of any others off the top of my head, but yes, I've definitely read several books that are more than 1,001 pages, including this one, which is the one I would recommend. So The Stand and It seemed a bit obvious. I think The Stand is probably the longest book I've read, but this is a pretty close second. I did Google to try and get word counts for them, and it looked like The Stand was probably a bit longer. But this, 1Q84 by Haruki Murakami, which is technically a trilogy, but available in one volume, and I read it in one go. Well, not in one sitting, clearly, but I read it as a single book. And this edition is 1,318 pages. So this is a phenomenal book, which I would thoroughly recommend. Despite being so long, it's one of those books that's so immersive that you don't really notice the length, apart from the fact it's so blooming heavy. But yeah, this is a really, really excellent long book, and a book that, you know, I've said in Stephen King videos, I don't think King always justifies the number of words he uses. I think in this book, Murakami definitely does. It's a truly brilliant book. Right, 1001 buckets is the next one. Do you have a non-bookish bucket list? What is one thing on the list? I don't really. That's terrible. I feel like I'm very boring. I don't really have a bucket list. There are definitely things I'd like to do in my life, but it's not something I really think about. I just do stuff. So I don't really have a very good answer to that question, I'm afraid. Next question, 1001 numbers. Do you have a lucky number? Is there a story behind it? So no, I do not have a lucky number. I am superstitious about numbers though. I'm not superstitious about many things at all, but for some reason I'm superstitious about numbers. And I would not, for example, ever stop reading a book if I was on a page that ended in the number 13. So nor would I stop reading a book during chapter 13. I would read till I'd got past page 13 or 113 or whatever, or until I got on to chapter 14, which is a bit weird, I know. And I also, for some weird reason, worry about sometimes, not all the time, and I'm not obsessive about it, honest, I do sometimes worry about numbers that add up to 13 as well, so like 7 and 6. So would I stop reading a book on page 76? If I really thought about it, I probably wouldn't. So yeah, I do have unlucky numbers, but not lucky numbers, which probably tells you a lot about my personality.
Hello, this is Editing Ollie. I just watched that part of the video back and realised what an absolute lunatic I sound like. It doesn't impact my everyday life, honestly. So yeah, don't worry about me or call the authorities to have me taken away or anything like that. Thank you.
1001 authors. Do you have a favourite author and or genre? So yes, I've said this before. So favourite genre crime, favourite author Ed McBain / Evan Hunter / many other names that he wrote under. So a truly fantastic crime writer, most famous for the 87th Precinct books, which will be making an appearance in a library tour at some point. I don't know how soon, but yeah, big fan of Ed McBain. I think he's brilliant. 1001 activities. Do you have a favourite outdoor activity? I really like reading in the back garden in the summer with a nice cup of tea or a cold drink. Aside from that, not really. I'm not really that outdoorsy a person. I do quite enjoy cycling, and I do like going for long walks. So I'm fortunate enough to live both near the sea and near the South Downs, which is a lovely area of kind of hills and things like that in the UK. So I do quite often go for long walks and cycle rides as well. So yeah, I do enjoy those things, but I'm not like a sportsman or anything like that. Next question, 1001 book clubs. Not a proper question for comments. Should I start a 1001 book club with a book of the month for a read along? That's obviously a question from Ms. Reads a Lot, so I would say definitely yes. And I will make sure I leave a comment on her video to that effect. And then the last one is 10+01 friends. Tag some friends. I'm not going to do that because this tag has been around for quite a while now, and I think most of the people I know have already done it, or been tagged by other people. So I'm not going to tag anyone. But if you haven't done the tag and you're a booktuber, then consider this an invitation to do the tag, because I do think these tags like this are quite fun, and there's some good questions in this one. So that's the tag. As always, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you are keeping safe and well. If you read the Mammoth 1Q84, do please tell me and tell me what you thought of it. As I say, I thought it was an absolutely amazing book. But yeah, that's it really. I'll let you get on with your day, and I will speak to you again soon. Cheerio.